It's like my first time ever.
Don't be nervous. Don't be scared.
You gotta pop your cherry tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Are we live?
With a fist.
Yeah. Are we live?
No, we'll have to ask Mr. KS.
Go, KS.
It says we are. It says
We are live.
All right, so we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Gun Nation.
So it's good to see everyone who's rolling in right now at 8 o'clock. Much better than my solo chat on Saturday of last week. So that's always promising. But we know that KS is the more popular one. So that's why everybody shows up, because KS is here. Or maybe they thought Honest Outlaw was going to be on again, and I wasn't. So that may be why they're rolling in the drove.
Maybe, yeah.
So it's good to be back. It's been a while. I've had some issues and some work obligations, and it's tough when you're trying to save the world, but it is what it is. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to call this now Three Guys Live. I think that's a pretty little catchy saying, So we'll see how that goes. But glad to see everybody coming in. Hopefully we can at least entertain you for at least an hour. And the first thing I want to do is we're going to kind of go around just doing some shout outs, if that's all right with you two gentlemen.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. So the first shout out I'm going to do, and really the only one at this point, is going to be a friend of mine who I kind of met through just being a Steyr fan, and that is TN Steyr, based out of Tennessee, hence the TN. He's going to be going to a SHOT Show, and he's going to be doing some stuff with Steyr, go figure. So check him out. He's got a YouTube channel, pretty nice guy, and he is much, much more knowledgeable in Steyrs than I am, which is awesome because I learned a lot from this guy. So please check him out. Awesome guy. That's my shout out.
Sweet. Hey, so real quickly, Bald was asking if I'm going to sell the Archon, which no, I'm not. But I want to share with you a comment that just came onto the channel just now, and I think it was meant for you. And this person says, and I am going to censor this a little bit, these guns are crappier than High Points in terms of functionality and reliability, but they'll never be the butt of jokes. So that's the type of comment that I'm looking at tonight.
There you go. Well, yeah, I wanted to give a couple of shout outs too. Texas Gun General, Texas Gun Arsenal. He's on Instagram. I actually met him this week and shot with him. Really nice guy. And it was pretty cool. I went into Shiloh Shooting Range in Houston, Texas. I was walking around in there. They have like a little gun store and a shooting range. I was walking around in there, and this guy walked up to me and he goes, "Are you Big Johnson?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, I watched the Three Guys Gun Chat." And I was like, "Man, that's freaking awesome." And he said he loves everything that we talk about and learned a lot. So I wanted to definitely give Shiloh Shooting Range a shout out because that's really cool. So
nice.
No Tundra, we're not going to SHOT Show because we're not sponsored.
Next year. Now it is happening next year, but I think we're going to try and do NRA this year. That in Indy, I think that is definitely doable.
Yeah, that's pretty close to New York, so I may manage that.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool if the three of us could meet in Indiana.
Only if we share a room and a bed.
No.
No. There's not enough bourbon in the world.
Don't say that because you never know.
No matter how cold it gets, I don't care.
Yeah.
Pops, it's an inside joke.
We're each other's sponsors.
That's right.
Kathleen is saying that apparently everyone loves everybody except for me. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment.
Hey, Humble Marksman is asking who the Big Spoon is. Come on. Really?
Come on. We know who that is.
I mean, come on.
Who's in the middle? KS.
We're not gonna play any trains, trains, or automobiles.
Yeah. Is that your pillow?
Yeah, we're not doing that one. No.
All right. So KS, do you want to do any kind of shout out so we can get this ball rolling, or what?
I want to give a shout out to everybody who's out there right now. You guys rock. See, I'm thinking of you guys.
This is why they all like you.
See, we're friends and family, right?
By the way, I'm banning Music Lover for that comment about me. It's very rude, and I'm upset. Okay, hurt my feelings. No, it didn't. Anyway, I would like to bring up one thing, and then we'll just kind of whatever happens. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right, so we were just talking before we went live about the Glocks. I know a lot of people are excited about it. I'm sure Poe's going to do at least 52,000 videos on them. So I'm just throwing it out there now. Poe, you're going to get some recognition for those. It's all fun and love.
He's at 50% now.
What's that?
He's already at 50% of that.
So we're poking fun at people. Everybody relax, all right?
Yeah,
so, you know, the 43X and the 48. I'm very interested in the 48. And it's kind of interesting because I get a lot of crap on the videos for having guns that have only 10-round mags. But then you have these two brand new guns that are going to be 10-round capacity. And everybody's like, I got to have one. Well, why? Couldn't you just get one that has 19 rounds or 400 rounds or whatever it is? So I found that interesting. But more importantly, I think the 48 for me is what I would prefer, just because it's basically a thin-sized Glock 19. And if you want, you buy a cheap 43, because in my opinion, the prices are probably going to go down on those. And then you just switch the slides if you want to. So what do you thought about that, fellas?
My thought is Wicked's comment.
Which way am I transitioning? I don't even know. Am I becoming a man or am I becoming a woman?
Yeah. Call you 1776 Jenner.
Yeah, it's gender fluid time.
Yeah, thanks, Wicked. That's awesome, man.
At least give me more than $1.99 for God's sakes.
You know, I mean, if we're talking about those two guns for me, the 48, you know, if I were going to buy one, the 48 makes more sense for me personally, just because of the size. I think that, you know, and I know they probably have, you know, the both same grip, but just having a little longer, you know, just a little more grip and a little, I guess, size of gun would help me. I've shot Humble's 43, and man, that thing was freaking tiny. I mean, it wasn't as tiny as a 365, but it's pretty freaking tiny. I can't shoot it for shit. I mean, I probably hit a body with it, but I'm not accurate with it at all.
I'm with Stephen Worth. I'm interested in both. I like all guns. I mean, we talked a little bit about this last night. I'm excited to try them out and see. I'm especially interested in the 43X. The 48 is in an odd spot because it's the footprint of a 19. It's just a little bit thinner and it's got 10 rounds in it. So that one will be, to me, it's a little bit more of a novelty, I suppose, especially if you're in a higher capacity state. But, you know, I don't know. I will just have to see. Is the camera stuck on you? Are you waving at the camera? Is that why you're doing that?
No, they're all out there talking about my freaking hands.
Oh, yeah, they're big. They're big hands.
I've never heard that before. Is that new? It's all out of love, guys. It's all out of love.
Yeah.
So somebody asked a question if they thought the 43 would drop significantly in price because of 43X and that
no.
pistol.
I think it will.
Said no. I think it'll have to, you know, because they're going to still want to sell units, and you know, why would you buy that if you can get more of a grip on that gun? Although, you know, I think the traditionalists will like having that fact of, you know, small grip, you know.
But I think the silver slide and stuff is probably going to be something new. And, you know, people that already have the 43, hell, they might buy the 43, you know, X also. I mean, you know, they might buy both. Who knows?
Sure.
You know, I think it's going to stay exactly the same. But Glock traditionally, when they've released new generations or new models, whatever it is, they don't really lower the price of their other guns, or they don't lower them substantially enough to make people really want them. I mean, when M&P came out with, for instance, the Shield 2.0, the Shield 1.0 dropped what, $150. I mean, you can find them all day long for well under $400 at least. So Glock has never, that's not their mantra. They don't really do that, because I think the 43 itself will still sell, and they command on the aftermarket a pretty reasonable price too.
Right. But I also think, though, that it's going to take time for those prices to kind of level out, you know, because if you look at a Shield 1.0, I mean, they're online all the time for the 200, sometimes like 280, stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see, after a few months of the 43X getting a lot of traction, would a lot of the shops begin to lower the prices, because they're just not going to be able to sell them, because, you know, if they're selling for $550, they're not paying $550. So they're probably going to try to make whatever they can off of it. So I think it's going to come down at least $100.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, like the difference between the Shield 1.0 and the 2.0, you know, it's got a little bit better trigger and it's got the stippling. Why couldn't you just put, you know, like I've done, is just, you know, the Apex in the Shield 1.0 and then do a stipple job, you know, or something like that. I mean, there's not a huge enough change, you know, to say, oh my gosh, I've got to buy the 2.0. You know, that's just my opinion. And I think they're both, you know, great guns.
Now, Hurt One is saying the color of the slide kills him, that he wishes they offered in black. Do you guys think that at some point they'll do, you know, a different colored slide, go back to black or the basic?
They could.
You know, I don't know. I mean, it all depends on the success of this. I think we've seen this a lot recently with like the 19X, things like that, with different colors. And people tend to kind of go a little bit nuts. I mean, gray frame Vickers guns typically command a crazy price, right? Not only because of the Vickers RTF frame, but also because they're gray. And so I think people tend to kind of like that. It's something new. It's something different. Again, something really shiny you find on the street. You're excited for a long time. So I don't know. I think they're going to try and expand their catalog a little bit, but we might see black with an FDE frame at some point in time, probably in a year, but who knows?
Yeah. Pops beat me to it. He said Krylon, and I was like, yep, get you a can of Krylon and have at it.
Rattle can it.
Yep. Yep. You know, or do you want to talk about the Glock anymore?
No, we can move on.
I actually got to put my hands on the P10F.
How did I know you were going to bring
carry optic version? And it's pretty, you know, of course I already put my hands on the regular P10F, and I thought, yeah, you know, it's really cool. I love the size. But I tell you what, the sights, and that's what I asked him, you know, what it was I know the CZ rep, and we run into each other every once in a while, and he happened to be out here, and you know, he said, hey, I got something for you that you want to see, and opened up the bag, pulled out the gun, and didn't have stickers on the box, so I didn't know what it was. And you know, he handed it to me, and I was just like, holy crap. And but the sights are really awesome. You know, the back are all blacked out. There's no dots, there's no nothing. Front is super bright orange, and it's a night sight, and it's different. I asked him, it almost looked like a Trijicon, and I said, is it a Trijicon? And he said, honestly, I don't know.
I think it's an Airglow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got a clear like shield over the front of it. It's kind of different. It's got like a little bead right over the top of it, but it's really, really nice. And it's got a little shelf back there for racking it. But no, it was only a sample. I actually tried to buy it from him. Matter of fact, I said, hey, look over there. And I grabbed the box and started walking towards the door, you know, just jacking with him. He's like, no. But I'll let something out that I found out. People are already buying the F, you know, the regular F. Well, and I don't know, he won't tell me who the stores are, but apparently people were reordering the F, the regular F, and CZ accidentally sent out the MOS versions. So some distributors are getting them. I don't know who the hell they are, but I ask, and he said he didn't even know. But the only bad thing is I said, okay, they're going to hit the streets, and they are going to all be available after SHOT Show, the S, the C, and the full size. But I asked him, I said, okay, the guns are going to be released, but they're only making 2 plates. One is for your Delta Point Pro, and one is for the Trijicon RMR. And I said, okay, are the plates ready? You know, like if we found the gun, could we get a plate? And he said, no, they haven't told him. And I said, okay, so you don't know where they are, how much they are, nothing. And he said, absolutely nothing. He said, no.
So you wonder if that is, you know, I know everybody is always on the CZ, you know, bandwagon now. Obviously, it's super popular, but I wonder if that's kind of the shortfall of CZ in general. Is that they just cannot seem to produce enough units. And like I'm definitely going to pick up a P10S. I'm not into the F because what the hell do I need a 52 round magazine in a 10 round state? But at the same time, you know, what I don't like is the fact that they don't even have the plates available, you know, with the gun.
Here's the deal before you say that, you know, they weren't even supposed to be released till after SHOT Show. So I'm wondering if they're headed in or, you know, something's going on. But if you remember when we were talking about this, I had a prediction. I was like, I bet nobody even has the plates, and they can't get them. If they got the gun in their hand, they won't be available.
Can I interject only because I actually know the answer to this, so CZ, along with most other gun manufacturers, when they put out guns like this, they have to work with other manufacturers for sights, for various parts, for plates, for whatever it happens to be. And one goal that CZ has for the P10, and I can't say everything, but is to have the right volume. They did learn from the last experience, or at least according to what I know from the folks I know, and so the volume is going to be significantly better coming out. The F is already out. The F is mine should be here Friday. I hope that's the idea there. Anyways, I don't think it's going to be the optic one, but the optic one is actually out there. You're exactly right about the plates, but there are some parts shortages right now. So I think the goal was to have them out before SHOT Show. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but they're bulking up. They're going to try and have these things far more available than they had before. They're being made right down the street, and they're cranking them out. They really are. So I think there are, just bundles and bundles and bundles of them ready to go, and they are great shooters. I will tell you, they are great shooters.
As a matter of fact, I could have shot this one today, but I didn't have time. I was meeting someone, and I was just like, oh crap, because they had a range there, and he's like, yeah, you can take it back there and shoot it. And I had ammo, but I didn't get to shoot it.
Now, just really quickly, and I don't want to go into too much about SHOT Show. It is what it's going to be. But is there anything in particular, if you had one thing you wanted to put on your wish list, one thing that you'd want to see come out from SHOT, from a manufacturer, what would it be?
Go ahead, Cass.
One thing from one manufacturer, you said?
Yep, just one, whether it's a gun, an optic, anything. One thing only.
That's a good question. I actually, because I'm actually pretty impressed with the things that are coming out so far, I'm pretty excited. A single stack VP9, I actually think would be pretty cool. Some sort of HK polymer striker fired single stack. And I know that's not what everybody wants right now. Not everybody is wanting the single stack. I'm still a big fan. And I think that would be pretty cool.
What I'm excited about, I've talked about it before, and I just want to find out the damn price on it, is the Nemo Monarch. That there's just something about that all alloy gun, and it is a striker fire, but there's something about having the MOS threaded barrel, and it's going to have multiple mags. I think a 15, a 17, and a 20 something I was reading. I think that's going to be a really cool option, and I really like the Scar FDE type color that they have on them, but I just don't know how much it's going to be. But I'm interested in seeing a video, like whenever someone walks to the booth, to kind of see what it is, and maybe have the guy say MSRP is going to be this, at least so we'll know.
Okay. All right. So before, I'm going to answer it, but then I'm going to go to a couple of questions that people are bringing up, and then you guys can, discuss. So for me, it would definitely be an M&P 2.0 compact red dot ready. Like I would think that would be an awesome selling handgun. I love the 2.0 compact. I think it's just a beast of a gun. And that would be pretty sweet. And maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but that would be something I'd like to see. So a couple of things really quick. So there were some comments and a couple of things that were asked. So Poe is saying an APX single stack would be awesome. That's a pretty cool little, an interesting idea. There's rumors that some European gun manufacturer is coming out with a single stack. So that could be an APX. It could be, HK, who knows? But that would be kind of sweet to see. I know that Razor was saying that Trigagon bought Ameriglow. So now you're going to start seeing changes and offerings for manufacturers now, which is true. And it seems like Ameriglow is getting a lot of traction now in the industry finally, because I love their sights and they're still reasonably priced, which I think is a bonus for anybody who's looking for night sights. So I think that would be kind of cool. Let's see.
Hey, real quickly, Joey Jimenez, I hope I'm saying that right.
Jimenez.
Right. So he has asked a couple of times about the Zev, the new Zev striker fired full Zev gun. So I want to make sure that we didn't bypass that too many times.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting looking handgun. I think the price is going to be outrageous, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about it yet, but it looked, from what I saw, like I guess they did some silhouettes of it or something. I can't remember what I saw about it, but it looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, anything that Zev makes is not inexpensive. So
Right.
I have a feeling it's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah. And then Pat8473 asked Big Johnson, P07, is it worth upgrading the trigger with Cajun Gunwork trigger system because it's kind of expensive? Yes, it is expensive.
Yeah, and honestly, I did a video way back when with 7-Up where he Cajunized his with the Pro Kit, and I shot them side by side and got the exact same group. You know, probably not on that gun. You know, the steel frames, yes. I mean, you can just put regular springs in it. You don't have to do the full blown package. And you could even change just the springs in the P07 if you choose to, hammer spring, etc. But I personally don't. That's just my opinion. If you choose to and you really like your setup, go for it.
Yeah.
We were invited to Poe's place if we go down to Indianapolis.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right, we're there. Be careful what you ask for, though.
Yeah, right.
Never know what we bring. Like in Tombstone, bring hell and fury with me.
So Razor is saying Zev gun's going to be $1,549. Mean Gene was saying $1,700. I mean, I imagine it's going to be somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. And that's a pricey polymer gun right there.
Right. You know, now that you guys brought that up about price, and this was something I was thinking about the other night, you know, it just seems like even in the gun industry, we're getting to the point where it's becoming the haves versus the have-nots, you know, and it's not a knock against anybody. If you can go out and buy yourself a $1,500 gun, God bless you. But I wonder if it's getting to that point now where you have these outrageous prices for whether it's a polymer handgun, a steel handgun, you know, obviously a Q5 steel frame is pretty sweet, but it's like $1,600. You know, so I wonder sometimes if we're really looking at kind of this disconnect from the majority of gun owners who want a reliable, trustworthy, affordable pistol, but then you have some manufacturers like Zev who would be coming out with like an $1,800 handgun. And sometimes I wonder if some of those manufacturers are losing their focus on the rest of everybody else out there. What do you guys think about that?
Well, Zev has always been pricey. As I get more into the polymer stuff and the slides and the barrels and triggers and all of that, Zevs are almost always 10 to 30% more than everybody else. And I'm talking everybody else on the higher end. They seem to sit outside the pocket on everything. And you know, Razor was saying they have a lot of problems. I have heard very similar stories, Razor. You know, you can buy the full Glock Zev builds where it's the Glock frame and then it's all the Zev parts and everything. And they are generally around $2,000 for those guns, or at least locally. There are a couple of shops that sell them around here. Now the shops build up the price a little bit too. So take that with a grain of salt. But I've heard time and time again where they will come back with issues. And there was a point where all of their Zev guns were actually, they had to be held back. In other words, they had to not sell them for, I was like a month or something until Zev sent some replacement parts that they discovered were not working properly with the gun. And so you kind of think if you're going to put out a $1,500, $1,700, $2,000 gun, whatever it is, in my mind, you better make damn sure that it performs flawlessly out of the box to where nobody is bitching at all, because people will bitch very fast when they lose out on $300, let alone $2,000.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I definitely agree with all that. There's just nothing, you know, and I've shot some Zev pistols. They were not mine. I shot, you know, a buddy of mine that is, you know, was into those. And I mean, they're cool and everything. His ran okay. You know, he did say he had to change, like, I guess, recoil springs a couple of times to get it to where it would run a particular ammo consistently. But, you know, I don't know. That they just don't do it for me, but that's just me personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think it's outrageous. I mean, you know, if you can do it, like I said, good, you know, good for you. Even if I could, I'd have a tough time ponying that up for one pistol. Because if you think of that math, let's say it's $1,500, you can go out and buy 3 guns for that, you know, and have more. So I'm more about, and I guess it can't even be said quantity over quality, because from what some of you guys are telling me, Zev kind of drops the ball. So,
yeah, I just don't see what that gun can physically do that another gun, you know, of a lot lesser value. I mean, other than being all Gucci'd up, you know, I just don't see what it could personally do better.
So I carry my revolver has a good question that was addressed to me, but we can all answer this. It's actually pretty interesting. So he says, if you were in charge of designing and creating new guns, which company would you choose to work for? So for me, it would be 100% Steyr. I would love to work with them to design stuff for them, because I honestly think just with their ergonomics alone, they're ahead of everybody else. And I know that's tough for people to swallow because, you know, there's not a huge market for them, but I still think that the ergonomics on that handgun are the finest of any gun that I own, or at least have had experience with. And I think there are some small changes that could be done to make it even better.
Okay. Now, since you're talking about that, what would you bring to the table? What would you want if you could pick a couple of things?
Definitely different stippling, no doubt. I would want a harder reset for the trigger. Okay. I'd want the lower and the slide to be thinner, because it's a thick gun. But if you were to do those three small things, I don't think anybody out there right now could beat that gun in regards to just having everything that you'd want. And if you want to throw adjustable back straps in there for hand size, sure, why not? I don't think it would be that difficult to design. But I just think those guns run so well and they fit so well in the hand. I don't think you could beat it.
Okay. What about you, KS?
I sort of agree with 17 on all of that. Certainly as far as the stippling, the texture, all that kind of thing goes.
Okay. So you would go with Steyr?
I mean, that would certainly be a worthy choice. That would. It's such a good gun. If you tweaked a few things here and there, refined a few things just a little bit more, and it wouldn't really add to the cost hardly at all, especially with the polymer, you just change the mold, that sort of thing. I think you could definitely get away with that.
Well, as y'all could all guess, I would go with CZ, and I would bring a single stack, double action, single action. It would probably be like a PO5, like we talked about before. And then what I would also do is I would bring island barrels, you know, to where your sight stays, but you've got the island barrels, so just like the FBI and the race guns. And I would even probably put some permanent comps on some of them, just to be a little different. I would add stippling to them, a lot more stippling on some of them. You know, just make like, you don't have to have the highest priced gun, but just make some options. Or if you could even go in and do like, you wouldn't have to go to CZ Customs, or if they were attached to it, you could, you know, kind of put in your request of a gun and a couple of things you might want to choose, and then go from there.
So Scott is saying Steyr is overrated. I disagree with that. Steyr doesn't even have a rating.
Yeah, they
can't get it.
This is who's asking this? Oh, Dexter 122181 is which comp is that? This is the primary machine. So
hey,
it worked great.
So Bald was having a conversation a little while ago, and I'm totally changing the subject here, but it was very interesting, and it kind of makes sense that this potentially is going on, that Hudson might be going bankrupt.
They are. It's already done. I mean, well, they're already. If you look, I think they've. Matter of fact, I think they've canceled, or if you try to pull them up, I think you can't find them. And supposedly on their Hudson, you know, chat or whatever their little thing is, there's a lot of people that can't reach them through their customer service, email, or phone calls, and they've got problems with some of their guns, and they're not hearing back from them.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with that. I had a couple of comments on the Hudson video. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of play anymore. Obviously, it's pretty old. But I had somebody saying, they said, yeah, I agree with your experience. I've been trying to email for well over a month, and I've yet to have a single response. It's almost like they aren't even there anymore. So that's just wild.
That's bad.
Yeah, regardless of the experience that I had with it, and mine was a sample of one, I don't want any company to go under, because I like the idea of us having different options. And the Hudson, for all of the negative experience that I had with it when it was shooting, it was an incredible shooter. So I think it's a bummer. I really do. I'm not surprised necessarily, but I think it's a bummer.
And it sucks because they were a Texas company too. So, you know, it really stinks.
Well, I mean, again, though, did they do it to themselves? I mean, they pushed out a gun that was over $1,000. And I mean, did they really have a big enough market or interest to do that?
Yes, I actually think they did. It's a niche market for sure, but there have been other successful guns that have been niche guns. I think they could have done it. I think there were some things they probably could have done a little bit better. And I think they had enough issues, and I know they went through a lot of testing and a lot of iterations and that sort of thing. And keep in mind, all of this is conjecture; it's all speculation. Sure. But just from what I've learned over watching their interviews and other reviewers and that sort of thing, they had a lot of issues. They had a lot of issues, not only kinds that I experienced with mine, but they had a lot of just sighting in issues. A lot of people found that they shot exceptionally low. I mean, I think they had sight problems. I think they had magazine problems. They had fitment problems, all sorts of things. And so the design in theory was awesome. But I think there was some refinement that really needed to happen to make it a little bit better, make them run better. And I think when they tried to come out with the aluminum one, because they probably spent a fair amount of money on R&D and that, they probably should have been focusing on the first one and really making it right. And waiting on an aluminum one until later, because did we really hear anything about the H9A other than when they said they were releasing it? Right. I don't recall seeing hardly any videos or hardly any word about it very much. And I think that's a telling sign that people were sort of off the train at that point in time. Well, and that's when you shore in the ship and kind of tighten things up a little bit and come out of the box again, fighting to try again.
But I also think you made a valid point as to why they failed or are failing, if it's true. I don't know. I know you, Big J, you said it was, but I think the problem is that it is a niche market. It's not enough. If let's say, for example, I mean, let's just throw it out there. Let's say Glock came up with a pistol similar to that, and they were charging $1,000. Everybody would buy that gun because it's an established market, established brand, so they can do that. They can charge that kind of money. But with the Hudson, it's a niche. Nobody's going to buy that, and if they did, it's going to be very, very small numbers. And does that justify the manufacturing and the work labor and everything else? I just don't think it was a smart business model. But again, I'm not an expert.
Yeah, right. And I think when it came out, it was a boutique gun company when they came out. I think if they would have released the first one at around the $800 price range, and then they would have, and hell, when we were at SHOT Show, or excuse me, at NRA, they had one with a comp, they had one with a threaded barrel, they had all these options. And if the $800 one sold really well and it had good QC and everything was fine with it, then you could introduce like the comp model and the the MOS model and all this other stuff. They were just, man, they were full bore ahead when they still had wheels falling off behind them. And it's just, when I saw all that, I was just like, they got the cart ahead of the horse, way ahead of it.
Right. And, Romans is making a really good point. He's saying when it comes to firearms, I want to stick to major manufacturers like CZ, Ruger, Smith, Winchester, and Remington for all my hunting and CCW. Mm-hmm. And that philosophy, I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit. Right. People are gravitating towards the firearms that they know. We talked a little bit last night about Glock and about how they continue to, I hesitate be the top of the mountain or anything like that. I think that's probably not the right way to look at it, but they do very well, and they do very well with the same exact design. We poke fun at them all the time for not innovating or anything like that, but they found something that works, and people buy them over and over again. And stores, it's very easy for stores to sell them because they know the name, they know the general reliability. I know some people run into issues, but those types of manufacturers, Smith & Wesson's the same way, Ruger's the same way. I mean, they find things that work, and they stick with them, and they make little tweaks here and there. And occasionally they'll put out something that's new, but it's once they are established and once they've got a core market and product that they know that works, so they can kind of let it do its thing and they can focus on some other things. But if you've got something that's floundering around a little bit, and you're trying to throw an aluminum version at it, or a barrel, or a compensator or something at it, when the core item isn't really solid yet, and it's expensive, to 17's point, that's a problem. To me, that's not a savvy business model. I'm also not I'm a businessman, but not in that sense. I don't run my own company or anything. I'm not responsible for those types of things. So perhaps I'm naive in thinking the way I am, but I just feel like if you don't have that core product that you can rely on, and it has some attention and it has enough volume and momentum to keep the lights on, don't start introducing extra things, because the train isn't running well enough for the accessories at that point.
Well, I'm in manufacturing, and it's yeah, that's what I say. I'm like, if we don't have our hardcore shit, bolted down, no reason adding on other crap.
So there was a question before about that Rob Pincus gun. It's I forget what it is, the Avidity Arms. What is it, DP10 or something like that?
Yeah, isn't that the Glock 48?
Yeah, right. So it's funny. I just read an article about it. I think a couple of days ago, and they were kind of, I guess, in a nice way, kind of mocking Rob Pincus a little bit in regards to the firearm. And they were talking about the idea of introducing it, but then never really releasing it. Yeah. So I guess it's going to be at SHOT Show again this year, but I don't think the release is coming. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Hell, at NRA, we picked it up. They had one sitting there. Harry and I picked it up, and everything in it was 3D printed. You could pull the trigger, but then you had to push it back forward. I mean, I'm like, why even show this? Yeah. I mean, right now it's a paperweight. And
honestly, the 48 it beat it to the market.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay. That gun's done. And then what about your Caracol? Where the hell is that?
That is hopefully going to be coming. Hopefully, listen, don't mock them. Do not mock Caracol, because they are going to hook me up with one of those handguns. At least I'm praying they will, because like Steyr and all those doubters out there, man, I'm sticking with Steyr till the very end, and I will stick with Caracol until they prove me that there's no gun coming out. But I'm absolutely 100% sure we're going to see him sometime this year. Yeah, and fingers crossed.
Well, you never know. It might happen. I mean, how long did it take for the Archon to come out?
Yeah, for
all it's worth, for all of the waiting and the delays and everything, I will say this thing is becoming one of my favorite guns in the collection. I mean, and it's funny. Jasper was saying a little while ago that he thinks he's done with niche guns, and I totally understand that, because you're taking a risk, right? You're rolling the dice a little bit on something that doesn't have, first, the aftermarket support and the manufacturer support of extra parts and everything like that, right. And it's unchartered and it's untested. You just don't know anything about it. But there can also be a hint of excitement in that as well, and occasionally a niche gun, and I think the Archon's a niche gun for sure. Occasionally they can be okay. Now, it had a bit of a fumbling in the beginning as well, but niche guns, there is a place for them. You just have to make sure that it is not your one and only, and you're spending money that could otherwise be paying your house bills or something. I mean, you've got to be comfortable with the idea that it is a niche gun, and there is a lack of support, and it might go away in a few years. I mean, it is a risk, but if you're comfortable with that and prepared for that risk, the reward could be fantastic, because you might have something that none of your buddies at the range have, and it could be a great experience. So it's a toss-up, man. It's a flip of a coin. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that is true. Have we missed any questions? Chu asked if you wanted to sell your gun, your Archon.
No. No, it is going nowhere.
Price point of the Caracol is about the mid fives, so it's kind of like at the level of a Glock. So that might be a turnoff. But I just think if they get it right, because obviously the earlier models that came out of the UAE was plagued with trigger problems, reset problems, all kinds of different problems. But if they get it right from Caracol USA and they've made the proper adjustments, I still think that has the opportunity to be a competitor. The ergos look good. Everything looks pretty solid. It's just getting the gun out and making sure it works. And, I'm anxious to see it. I'd love to be able to get one. I'm really anxious, obviously, to see what Steyr's got in store. I'm getting a good feeling that something's coming our way with Steyr, especially all those Steyr fans out there. I think you're going to be pretty happy. At least I hope so. That's why I keep saying the most. And maybe a redesigned PPQ, which would be sweet, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, redesigned PPQ would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm all about that. Although the steel frame is pretty cool. I've got some criticisms, but it's pretty cool.
All right, well, send it to me, and I'll let you know if that's accurate.
You know, actually, that one I might send to you. I would be curious to know.
I would love to be able. Now, do you know if they take regular PPQ mags?
Oh, darn. They don't.
They don't?
Well,
Nope,
you know what?
They absolutely do not.
You don't necessarily have to send me the magazines, you know, and I won't say a word, you know.
Right, yeah. So,
pieces, he can put them together.
If we can figure out a way to have some 10-round magazines for that, I will send you that gun, because I would be fascinated to hear your opinion on it, because you are quite a fan of PPQs. So,
dude, I'm still in love with that gun. It's still a great gun. Yeah. They just need to do some things, modernize it a little bit more, get with the times, lower bore access, that kind of stuff, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I could shoot it like that.
Hey, so somebody said a little while ago that the chat goes awfully fast these days, and I'll tell you what, guys, you're amazing. It absolutely does. We love all the comments, and the fact that you guys can carry on your own conversations makes it a lot easier for us as well. So that's awesome. Thank you all. There was a, I'm sort of sorry, I'm taking over a little bit for a second. 17. There was a question by Joey, and it was a really good question. Best budget gun under $500. What do you guys think?
Man, there's so many good ones.
I know.
I'm gonna say the best budget gun that's really, and it shouldn't be a budget gun, M&P 2.0.
Okay. I will say, and the only reason I say this is because some people, you know, might be a little leery about carrying a striker fire pistol at first, especially if they're appendix or whatever, or a new shooter. I would say the P07.
P07, okay. Is now, okay, I've seen them for over 500, I think, but no, I think generally you can get them for under $500.
Oh yeah, I've seen them for $429, just the plain black, not the urban gray, of course.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, that's a good option. If the budget is $500, I'm all about the M&P as well. 2.0 compact, whether it's 4-inch or 3.6-inch, doesn't matter to me. If there's enough room for an apex or at least some better sights, I'm all about that. That's fine. But if it was extreme budget, a little bit more extreme, I would go the Taurus G2C. That has not shut your mouth. That has been a fantastic firearm. And, you know, okay, so it's funny how much Taurus carries a stigma. And I get why. I mean, they had a long run of just duds. They really did. But there is an opportunity for stigmas to go away, and there's an opportunity for manufacturers to come out with something better that works better. And I've had a pretty interesting case study with that first Taurus video that I put out. That's, I mean, it's done well. I think it's in the top 4 or 5 videos of the channel at this point in time. And the amount of comments, it is 95% glowing. And you have to take comments with a grain of salt, because there are going to be people that come on there and say the day after the release of the gun that they've got 15,000 rounds through it. It's been flawless, and they've owned it for 3 years. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Some people are, you know, not quite accurate or don't really understand that the type of gun you're talking about. But if the majority of it is overwhelmingly positive, then that does have to tell you something, that people are having good experiences with it, and the reviewers had good experiences with it. For an ultra budget gun, I think that is a great option. I really do. That's half the budget of $500.
So I'm going to slightly disagree with you on that. And the only reason why I'm going to say that is because, you know, you don't necessarily need an apex trigger on a 2.0. You don't need it. I think it's more of a desirable thing to add to it. But I think out of the box, and I'm telling you, go to Gunbroker, pull up the M&P 2.0s, $349, you know, in that range. The reliability of the gun, the I don't want to say history of it, but I guess the you know, just the backing of that gun, I think blows that Taurus out of the water every day, any day.
I totally agree. I would take the Smith over the Taurus any day as well. That is absolutely true. But I would, based upon reliability track record. You know, if the Taurus in 3 years, if it is still as glowing as it is now, I would have a harder time with that. Now, the M&P is still one of my favorite guns in the collection. It has remained for that exact reason. So I love that gun, but it's paired with the Apex and with the Ameriglow sights, or Trijicon HDXRs, one of the two. They're both great sights. And that Apex it made that gun go from, to me, about an 8 or an 8.5 to an 11. And all of a sudden, it just is an unbelievable experience, phenomenal firearm, uber reliable, all that kind of thing. So I give it credit there without question. But I still think, and Sheck was saying that I've got a Taurus tram stamp now. I do. But I have been really impressed with that. And I give Taurus a lot of credit for putting out something that so many people can afford and still buy some ammo and maybe some training, some time at the range and that sort of thing, and have a gun that reliably works. It's not a pretty gun. It doesn't have all the crazy features. The slide wears like crazy. It's not perfect for sure, but the thing works and it shoots well. So I've got to give it credit where credit's due.
Yeah, Dennis Jones is saying, the Taurus, and I know this too, and you do too. The Taurus, has the 1-year warranty, and the M&P has a lifetime warranty, no questions. Back and forth shipping, they pay it all. So, but then if you're really talking triggers out of the box, and y'all know this, the M&P does have a nice trigger for a striker fire, but hell, the P07, the single action is 3 pounds 8 ounces for single action. And some people are like, oh, the first double pull is really hard. The decocker lessens it. But granted, it's 9 pounds, but you're only pulling it once. The rest is, it's a nice light trigger. And that's what I prefer. But I do like the M&Ps. I own one. I like them. Don't get me wrong.
I think at the end of the day, too, even though there's a lot of hate for certain manufacturers, I think anytime you see these manufacturers have been plagued with problems in the past and they're trying to improve that, I think that's just a win for everybody, because now you have more options. More options mean it drives down prices of competitors. And at the end of the day, we all win. So I think it's great no matter what.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And Fresh is saying, don't forget the Security 9.
It's a great gun. It really is. It is a good gun. I had a great experience with it. I didn't care for the trigger of that one as much as I care for some of the other triggers, including, believe it or not, the Taurus. But the Security 9 is well built. And people would probably take a Ruger over a Taurus most days. Ruger's got a pretty good reputation, generally speaking.
They have a lifetime warranty also.
Do what?
They have a lifetime warranty also.
They have a lifetime warranty also. That is absolutely true. So, but again, I think we have to try and look past stigma and look at the product itself and let it speak for itself.
Sure, till it blows up in your hand.
Then that is entirely possible. That's why we have 2 hands.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. That's why you practice your weak hand, everybody.
Right.
Exactly. Look at that, Jasper Quaid, 31 flavors. Hell yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Sheck is saying high point life.
Yeah. What's funny? I've only shot a couple of high points, but one of them we shot a lot one day just farting around with it. I couldn't get the damn thing not to work. It's a boat anchor, but I couldn't get it not to work.
The carbines are actually they're ugly as sin, but those things run like tops.
I had the original one, the one that looked like I used to call it my Planet of the Apes gun before they made it kind of tactical looking. Man, I bought the thing used for $110, and the guy never cleaned it because it took like an hour and a half to take it apart.
Right.
I also think,
and I was gonna say, I never cleaned it. I probably shot a couple of thousand rounds through it, and then I sold it for $150.
Well, I also think the good thing about high points is the fact that it kind of brings me back to my childhood when I used to draw guns on paper, because it does look like a hand-drawn gun on paper.
It does, yeah.
And it has that pendulum in it, so it's when you hold it sideways, it just fits the hand better.
Right.
The old Glock 40. Love
it. Yeah, Guns and Gear did a pretty funny thing where he was shooting sideways and grabbing his crotch.
Yeah. I had to correct him on his blah, blah, what the hell he said.
Yeah.
I forget what it was.
He needs to tilt his head more.
Yeah, but he actually liked my comment. So thank you, Mr. Guns and Gear, for appreciating my comment. I appreciate that.
Nice.
But he still hasn't subbed me. He still doesn't talk to me or anything else. So, it's all good.
Redheaded stepchildren. That's okay.
That's right.
What have y'all shot anything recently like that kind of surprised you or that you really liked or something different? I know that KS, you've gotten some guns, but have you something just kind of surprised you, or something you haven't shot in a long time and you reshot and you're like, wow, hey.
The reshooting, no, but plans are to dust off the Steyr M9A1 and do a little bit of work with that, which I'm very excited about. I still like that gun. Kathleen, music lover, was talking about that a while ago. But as far as other new guns that were surprising, you know, I did the steel frame, the match, and I definitely have some thoughts on that. 95% glowing. So it is certainly a worthy shooting experience for sure. But then the AR pistol, it worked. So that's pretty cool. I built something and it worked. It's always a good feeling. Now I have to say, it was actually easier to put together the AR than it has been the Polymer 80s. There's less room for error. I mean, it's easier to put them together because you're not actually resculpting things. Now, it wasn't like an 80% lower or anything like that, but it was a good experience. It was really fun to make some really loud noise at the range.
Yeah, they're loud. What do you think, 17?
Well, you know, I had some issues over the break for Christmas, so I wasn't able to get to the range. I still haven't gotten. And the last time I shot something was I was doing kind of a rehashing of the Steyrs, the L9, the M9. I took that out with the 509 and with the Glock 19X, and just wanted to see like how they shot. You know, what was the advantage of each. And, you know, I walked away just still kind of just smiling, man, when those Steyrs, when you just shoot that gun, it doesn't matter how bad of a shot you are, the gun just makes you a better shooter. You know, once you start getting the target on with the sights, it doesn't take long. You know, again, I've always seen people say, oh, it took me 100 rounds to, it should not take you 100 rounds to master those trapezoidal sights. But the gun is just a shooter, man. And it surprised me how much I still love that handgun. I mean, I still think it's just fantastic in so many different ways. So that was like the last time, but hopefully soon I'll be getting out again.
Yeah, I shot a gun yesterday that I've personally never shot before. It wasn't my gun. It was Texas Gun Arsenal's, but it was the STI Post 4.0. And you can put he's got the RMR comp and a light on it and everything. And it was a really fun gun. I think I put about, when I looked at the ammo box, because I had it labeled on the top how much it holds, and I probably put 300 rounds, 250 plus rounds through it. It was a lot, and man, it shot really, really great. The little safety kind of, you know, it wears on my hand there, but it's a double stack, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to shoot, and man, he was loving the hell out of that TSO. Matter of fact, he wants one really bad now.
Nice, nice. Hey, Dexter's asking about the 509M. What do you think?
You know, I was thinking about that earlier, and you know, I don't know. I feel, again, the 509 is a great gun. I do like it quite a bit, but I just think it's a little too late right now for that. Because, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not certain about it. You know, is it enough of excitement around the 509M to go out and get one? And I'm not sure. I mean, would I have preferred that come out first? Yes. Why? It's easy to conceal. It's Glock 19 size. I think that's the ideal size for any kind of handgun. But at the same time, I think it's a little, you know, a little too late right now. Doesn't mean I won't get one at some point, but not right now.
Yeah, the 509 to me, you know, and I have the FNS, and I really love it. And the thing that I like about the FNS is and I actually measured it, it's a little larger circumference around the grip, but it also comes with, you know, the multiple back straps. On the 509, the large back strap, you have to buy from FN. It doesn't come in the box. And I definitely need the large for the 509. You know, I don't think that it's a bad gun at all. But the M, the M doesn't do anything for me. I would want the full size for sure. But
so let me ask you something, because I have done basically no research on the M at all. It hasn't really hit the radar. I've done the 509 and the tactical. I kind of feel like I'm kind of over that.
Right.
So the M, I thought it's a shorter grip, right?
Yes.
Yep. It's a Glock 19 size.
Yep.
So it's okay. So the slide is Glock 19 slide, and then the grip is, so it's 15 rounds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also, if you put the full size, you know, like your FN 509 tactical, if you put the larger mag in there, you can actually overstab it.
Yeah.
So you have to use the sleeve, because then you could potentially damage the frame on it, you know. And you know, and which is kind of that can happen with an M&P also. But, you know, it's like, okay, if you buy that, but you already have the 509 full size, then you have to contact FN. They're going to offer sleeves. Then you got to buy the sleeves. And it's just like, they probably should have thrown a couple in the box or whatever, because, you know, people could potentially have the 509 tactical for like range use, and they might want to carry the 509M.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if that was a good deal on their end. And nothing, like I said, I think FN makes great pistols. I love FN.
Right.
But I don't know.
They also changed the trigger shape a little bit. They made it a little bit wider at the bottom of the hinge, and then I guess the back straps also, the way you take them off and put them back on, are slightly different from the 509. But again, just getting back to Big Johnson's point about they should have included the sleeves and everything else. That's why you all should go out and get an M&P 2.0 compact.
Yeah, they got the sleeve.
They do have the sleeves. That's exactly right. Now, I actually have one last question. I know we're getting close on time a little bit. We haven't talked about this one, the Mossberg, the new Mossberg. What do you think?
Big J, go ahead.
Personally, I mean, it would probably be interesting to shoot, but for me to go out and buy it when I already have the shield, and, you know, I personally, it doesn't interest me. I would be interested in just shooting one or trying it, but, you know, it's just I mean, Mossberg, it's cool that they haven't made that gun for 100 years, but it doesn't, you know, doesn't do that much for me personally.
And I agree. I think it's the person who arrives at the party the day after. It's not going to, I mean, I'm sure people buy it. We know that. But at the same time, I mean, if you look at it carefully, it does sort of resemble a shield, but it also resembles that honor guard pistol in a little bit ways. And I just don't see the point. I don't. It's just, I mean, if they sell it, great. It's just, like I said, another manufacturer coming out with something cool, but I will not be picking one of those up.
I think it has a little bit of a Taurus look to it too. What do y'all think? See a little Taurus.
Sorta, I guess. I mean, it looks like it's just a bastard stepchild of all of them, you know?
I mean, yeah, kind of a little bit. I'm excited. I'm excited to try it out. It takes Glock magazines.
Yeah,
they were really smart to do that, by the way, because now you can talk about Glock aftermarket things for at least the magazine. So that's pretty cool, base plates and such. But I'm excited. It's got the flat trigger. It's a reasonable price. And this is where we were talking about niche guns and that sort of thing. I would almost classify that as a niche gun, even though it's not a niche manufacturer. Right. But there's an element of risk in there. But I think people are curious, and I am just like everybody else. I'm curious. I want to know. And even if I didn't have a channel, that is probably one that would be on my radar anyways to try it. So I'm excited, and I like the fact that they offer a wide variety. Although what are they calling it? Like an anniversary edition or something that's got the gold crap on it. They could have done without that. That one they probably could have waited.
That's the pimp model.
The pimp model could have come out next year, wait on the gold teeth, and just put out the regular 1-in-1 with good sights on it and be done with it, and let it percolate for a while and let it establish hopefully a good reputation, and then go from there.
Sure.
They made that one so it match your grill.
Right.
All right, gentlemen. So we're up to 3 minutes left. So I will let you both tell us what's going on in your world and YouTube and guns, and then we'll close it out.
Go ahead, KS.
Just lots of stuff. I was editing some things before this, and I'm working on about 5 videos all at the same time. So a lot of things, and a couple of strange things coming up on the channel that you wouldn't expect to see on the channel. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. But thanks for everybody joining us tonight on Wednesday and hanging out. We really appreciate it. We really do.
Yeah, definitely want to give a big shout out to the friends and family out there. You know, there are some other great content creators out there, so please subscribe to one another. I've got, some reviews coming up, finishing up some, and then I've got some more to do. So I'll get those out, and, make sure you follow all of us on Instagram, because a lot of stuff that we do, some might not even make it to YouTube, and some will shoot pictures and stuff, and then maybe a month or so down the road we'll do a YouTube video on it for testing. So just follow along with us if you can. Very cool.
So for me, I'm, like I said, getting back in the swing of things a little bit. So I will be having some new guns coming finally. I'm excited to do that RMSC video. I think that's going to be pretty sweet. I can't wait to shoot that thing. The PX4 Storm should be coming soon. Obviously, I'm going Glock 48, unless I'm really enticed by the 43X, but it's probably going to be a 48. It just suits my needs better. So I look forward to doing that whenever the hell that will eventually come in, and then the 2 years later, I got to wait for it. A couple of holsters coming in, which I haven't done any holsters in a while. So I might actually revisit the whole like holster month thing and kind of introduce new stuff for 2019 that I'm using. And then, as you guys know, all 8 of you who showed up to the chat on Saturday night, I don't know what happened with that. I really contemplating dropping YouTube forever after that night because it was just abysmal. But I'm starting to do a live stream Saturday nights. I don't know if it's going to be every weekend, but I plan on doing something this weekend for an hour, and we're going to talk about a little bit more on the political side of things with guns involved. So that's where I'm going with everything, guys.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah, and I'll crank mine back up too. We're all going to kind of do our little solo stuff. Doesn't mean we're breaking up the band.
No. Nope.
That way we can kind of talk about some stuff that we might individually want to talk about.
Yep. So thanks again for everybody coming out. It is now the bewitching hour of 8:59. So I hope you guys again have a great night. Thanks for coming in and watching. And just check everybody out and make sure you're tuned in. And again, thanks for showing up tonight, guys.
Thanks everyone.
Everybody.
Good night.